Flosstube. My name is Amy. I'm the Globetrotting Stitcher. I am back with you today for episode 7 and really looking forward to spending some time with you today. So thank you so much to those of you that are coming back and joining me. It's great to see you again. And thanks to those of you who are just checking us out or checking me out for the first time. Really great to have you, and I hope you like what you see. So I thought I would start with just a couple of updates on what we have been up to. We have been exceptionally busy the last several weeks. In fact, we're filming a week behind schedule. Gary was super busy all last weekend. He was working on a big production over in the city, and so we decided to postpone filming so that he could be on set. But I think he had a really great time, and sounds like things went really well over there. So looking forward to seeing all of that come together. The other thing that's been really exciting for those of you that have been following Bear's recovery process over the past several episodes, he is continuing to do really well. He is actually going in tomorrow for his final round of x-rays. And so it's been almost 2 months now actually I think it's just been 2 months since his surgery. And so we're really hoping that he gets the all clear to be able to go off leash for the first time in a couple of months. I think we are all going to be really happy when he can go to the bathroom in the backyard by himself. He also did get clearance from the vet a couple of weeks ago to start taking some short walks. And so he and Sophie have really been enjoying getting back out into the neighborhood and marauding around. So really enjoying that. The other thing that's kind of happened, so I had a massive disaster in the last couple of weeks since we filmed. Many of you who have been following my earlier episodes or watching our earlier episodes know that I finished The Winter Queen by Shannon Christine Designs. I was stitching that as a gift for my niece for her birthday, which is coming up in the next month. And so I decided that it was high time that I actually got that framed. Because I was ready to actually take it and take it to a framer, I had debated for a while, and I had kind of looked at maybe framing it myself. But there's a pretty decent sale going on framing at Joann's, hint. And so I thought, I'm just going to let the good people at Joann's handle this for me. And so I decided it was time for me to get that washed and ironed and ready to take over there. And so several days ago, I think it was actually last weekend now, I went ahead and I washed it. And keep in mind that when I washed it, I had double checked because I did, as you'll remember, I did use an over-dyed fabric for this piece. But when I purchased the fabric, I made sure on the manufacturer's website, they said this is color fast. So I normally would not wash an over-dyed fabric, but in this case, I felt like, okay, they said it's color fast. And the flosses that are used in the design, they're all DMC or Petite Treasure braid. So I felt very safe. Okay, I can wash this. Well, that didn't turn out so well. Unfortunately, after I pulled it out of the wash, I very quickly realized that the blue dye from the over-dyed fabric had bled. And those of you who remember the piece will know the lady has quite a bit of white in her gown, and there's white snowflakes and white snow on the ground and a white frozen tree. There's a lot of white. But the most disturbing thing when I pulled it out was that my poor Winter Queen looked like she had a really severe case of hypothermia. And I didn't panic. I did not cry, although I kind of wanted to, but I looked at her, I used some pretty salty language, and I thought, all right, I know colors are more concentrated when they're wet. Let's just let this thing dry and see if it's as bad as it looks. And of course, Gary was around, and so he heard the salty language, and he's like, what's going on? Are you okay? And I was just like, here's the, my piece bled. And so he came to look at it, and I found his reaction very telling, because Gary will normally be like, oh, I think it'll be fine. It'll be fine. You don't have to worry about that. And he was just like, oh, which told me everything I needed to know about exactly how bad the situation was.
Thanks for that supportive moment.
Thank you for that supportive moment.
Yeah, there you go.
So he went back to playing his video game, and he offered, he's like, is there anything I can do to help? And he was trying to be supportive, as much as he could. And I kept looking at it, and it just kept not getting better. And so I finally said, you know what? I'm leaving the house. I'm leaving the house. I don't know where I'm going. I don't know when I'll be back. So I got in my car. Some ice cream was consumed at some point in the journey. And after the ice cream was consumed and I felt like, okay, all right, I've medicated my grief, I decided, you know what, I'm not giving up without a fight. So I went to our local market and I picked up some color catchers, which I should have had in the first place. That might have saved me the trouble. But I picked up a box of color catchers and I came home and I did a little bit of digging and research on what do you do when you have a bleed on your cross stitch fabric, because this has never happened to me where I've had a serious bleed on anything that I've washed, and got some really great advice. So what I ended up doing is soaking the piece in ice water overnight. So apparently the best advice that I received was don't let the piece dry. You can rinse it, you can soak it in the coldest water possible, and you can continue to do that until all of the extra dye comes out. So I soaked it overnight in ice water with a color catcher. I did change the water out a couple of times before I went to bed. And I woke up in the morning and I took it out and it was clearly better. But I was still concerned because the lady did still have a bit of a blue cast to her skin. And so I thought, well, I feel like I've done the best I can do. So let's just let this thing dry. And then if I have to, I'll pick out all of the floss that's I used to stitch her skin. And I'll restitch her skin. If her dress looks a little bit blue, she's an icy queen. So it is what it is. And I'm happy to say, so I'll show you how she's looking. I'm happy to say that I think that we're going to be okay. We had a big disaster, but I think we were able to soak out the majority of the blue tint that was in the piece. So her skirt has recovered, this bottom part of her skirt has recovered really well. The tree and the snow on the ground recovered really well. I think up close and in person, if you know what you're looking for and you know what happened, there might be the faintest blue cast to her skin. But not to the degree that I think she needs to be restitched. I think she's going to be okay. So thankfully, this piece was saved by science. So now I'm ready to take her and get her framed. And I'll be taking her in this week and picking out how I want to get her finished up. But so hopefully learn from my experience. If you have a bleed, follow those steps. Make sure you use a color catcher when you're actually washing your fabric and your piece, and yeah, hopefully you don't have the same distress that I did. So, okay. So normally this would be the time when I would answer questions, but we had a lot of questions in the last video. And so I thought, because I know there's a lot of folks out there who prefer to just get to the stitching and then that's all they're interested in, they're not interested in all the extras. We're gonna go ahead and answer the questions after I show you all my stitching. But I will say, for those of you who are interested, I'm really excited because today I'm going to be doing my very first giveaway. So if you stick with me, we'll do that toward the end of the video. But for now, despite the fact that we have been incredibly busy the last couple of weeks, I've also been really productive with my stitching. So I have a big finish to show you, and I have an FFO on a small finish. So we'll start with the FFO, and then we'll go to my big finish. So you guys will probably remember the last time we filmed, I had started a new seasonal piece. I was working on Delivering Plenty by Homespun Elegance, and I got a finish on that. And I have to tell you, I so enjoyed working on that piece. I'm beginning to understand now why so many of you out there really enjoy working on the smalls. It is such a rush to get a quick finish on something and to be able to turn it around and put it up on the wall or make a pillow out of it. And so I really, really enjoyed working on that piece. It's just adorable. It turned out so cute. So let me show you how I finished that off. This is a little bit awkward. So here she is. She is, I guess it's a he. We'll go with a he because it's a turkey and I'm just gonna assume it's a he. So this design, actually the finishing piece, this is like a bike with a basket that hangs on the wall. And I actually found this at Joann's, I think last spring. Thought it was adorable. As soon as I saw it, I was like, oh, I can use that for finishing. And so I've kind of had it on the wall. knowing that I wanted to finish a few things and put on it, but I was never quite sure what was going to be the right piece. And this ended up being the perfect size for it. And so I actually just got, I need to do a little bit more to kind of clean up the inside of the basket here, but I just got a little bit of that foam that you use for florals, and then put some, cut apart a couple of floral like sprays and stuck those in. And then I mounted my piece on the sticky board, and then had a couple of small layers of sticky board behind that with the additional fabric. And I'm just really pleased with how it turned out. I'm actually going to just pull this off so you can hopefully see the finished piece a little bit more closely with just the stitching. This is mounted, don't look at that. That's bad. It's mounted with magnets, and it's not a super strong mount. I need to do a little bit more to give that some security. So let's try and, there we go. Okay. So taking this off of the actual finishing piece, as you can see, I've got like a border of green and then a border of this wonderful check fabric in fall colors. I picked up a couple of buttons at Joann's for the wheels. Here's my little squirrel charm that goes on there. And then some of you will remember I was talking about, I was trying to track down the acorn charm that is in the turkey's mouth. And I was telling you I was actually able to order directly from the Homespun Elegance Etsy shop. When the charms arrived, they were actually not the original acorn charms that were called for. They're quite a bit smaller, and so I was debating, because I was just planning to do it as called for, and I was like, oh gosh, do I need to go back to the drawing board and find a new acorn charm? And I thought, nope, I'm gonna work with what I've got. These are cute, and I'm actually really pleased. So I just sewed 2 of them on there and was able to make it work, and I'm really happy with how it turned out. So I have been, I was making all sorts of like happy little giggles and sounds while I was working on putting this whole thing together. And then I made Gary come and take a look at it and appreciate it properly. So it's on the wall, even though fall has not technically started, even though the rest of my fall decor has not gone up. I was like, I'm putting it on the wall and I'm going to enjoy it as long as I possibly can. So that's my fully finished version of Homespun Elegance's Delivering Plenty. Such a fun chart to work on. All right. The next thing I have to show you guys, I had a really big finish. I'm super, super excited to say that my Rose Quaker sampler by Stickaday von der Wienberg has been finished. I just finished it last night. So I'm gonna pull it up and show it to you now. I cannot tell you how much I am in love with this design. So this is stitched on 32 count soft apricot linen by Color and Cotton. And I am just over the moon with it. I think it turned out absolutely beautifully. And I could not be happier with how this finished up. What I will tell you is it did not go down without a fight. So many of you who've been watching the last several episodes, you'll have heard my war stories about miscounts and some of the motifs on the chart that they're not perfectly mirroring each other as they do, and you kind of find that as you go along. And so I did find, as I was working across the final, the bottom row of motifs, that I continued to have those problems. And then the other night, I decided it was getting late, and I was like, oh, I really want to push for a finish on this. And so I was working on this final motif, and I was almost halfway through with it when I realized that I had miscounted and I had completely flubbed it. And I thought, well, maybe I can just, I just want to be done with it. And, maybe I can fudge it and just make it work.
More ice cream.
No, there was no ice cream in the house. But if there had been, it might have been eaten. But I did think that perhaps I was going to have to, I thought maybe I could fudge it. And the more I looked at it, the more I realized that was not going to work. And so I said, all right, I want to have this done, but it's late and I'm tired and this is not going to end well if I keep pushing. So I put it aside, went to bed, and then got up and finished it the next day. I did rip out some stitches, but it didn't end up being as difficult to fix as I thought it would. So yeah, I am just so, so excited. So I'm thinking about how I'm definitely going to have this professionally framed. I think this is one of the pieces that it's special enough and beautiful enough that it deserves to have a little bit more of a special treatment than I can give it here at home. So we'll see in the next couple of weeks. I'm not sure how long it will take me to get this back from the framers, but I will be sure to show it to you when it is all finished. I know a lot of you out there have been leaving me comments and saying that seeing my progress on this and a few other folks who are working on this has enabled you. And I really encourage you, if you're at all interested in this design, you should absolutely work on it. It is absolutely beautiful, and I'm loving it. I cannot wait to have this on display in my house. All right. Thank you.
Yeah, we don't want to lean it on the light.
Nope. Okay, so because I had those two big finishes, I only have 2 actual whips to show you today. So the first one, let's see, is, oh, here's what I need. The first one that I'm going to show you, I actually made some really fantastic progress on my, my full coverage design. This is being stitched on 28 count white Lugana. I'm stitching it 2/1. And we will find a way to put up a photo of what it looked like the last time you saw it. But I am just absolutely thrilled with how much progress I made. So I got through several diagonals of this, and I ended up actually being able to start working on the roof of the turret that I was talking about. And so let me go ahead and pull up. Here is what it is looking like now. So I have now made it all the way across the top of page 7, and I'm well into the top part of page 8. I've also now reached the bottom of page 7, and I'm working my way across in the diagonals there. And as I said, I'm getting this part of this roof put in. And you know, what I will tell you is that when I worked on this, I had 1 or 2 days the last time this was in my rotation where I actually had really nice big long chunks of time where I didn't have anything that I had to do, and I was going to be able to commit some real time to stitching this, and I was like, oh yeah, I'm going to get 1,000 stitches in. So there was a lot of pretty heavy confetti in the sections that I worked on. So my days were more like 700 or 800 stitches, but you know what? It is worth it. And anybody who stitches full coverage will tell you it's a long-term commitment. And so you set some goals, and if you meet them, you meet them, and if you don't, you don't. But I'm really happy with how this is looking. I'm really excited to start to be really getting out of the background now and to get to the focal point of the piece. And so I'm hoping over the next couple of rotations that this is going to really start taking shape and looking like something special. So that's where I am on my rose trellis in.
We need a little bit more set dressing.
No,
Yeah, we're good now.
he's completely inappropriate. We did not discuss that.
We need some color.
We need some color. Oh dear. All right, the other whip that I worked on over the last several weeks, I have made a little bit of progress, but not a great deal of progress on my March cottage. So one of the things that as I was prioritizing which pieces to work on, I really wanted to, make some meaningful progress on my rose trellis in, and I wanted to get that finish on the Rose Quaker sampler. And so this piece did not get all the love that it deserved to get during that time, but I'm still feeling good about where I got to. So I was able to stitch in all of March. I've started working on the house and started working down toward the bottom border. This tree is about halfway done, and then I got the sheep and the fences in. So making some really good progress on this design, and hoping, now that I've got my big finish out of the way, I'm hoping to actually be more consistent about putting in a little bit of time on this every day or most days to see if we can wrap this up and move on to the April cottage. But here we are. And for those of you who are wondering, I'm stitching this, as I am all of my cottages, on a 28 count mushroom Lugana, 2/2 with all the called for flosses. Alrighty. So the next thing I have to show you is I had a new start. So after I finished delivering plenty, I did have, I think, maybe 1 day left in that part of my rotation to get a new start. And so I was telling you, I think I was hoping that I was going to be able to start, what is it? Flowers Always by Liz Matthews. So that was a new chart that I got a couple of months ago after it first came out, where I was really looking forward to stitching it because I want to give it to somebody as a gift. And so I need to get started on it because I want to have it done before the end of this year. I ordered the fabric almost 3 months ago. I have yet to receive it. I'm a little frustrated, but we're not going to discuss that. And so I am still hoping and waiting for that fabric, but I decided since it hadn't arrived yet, it was time to start something else. So I have a new start in my seasonal category. Right now I am working on a Valentine's piece. And so I got started on My Love by Madame Chantilly. And you guys, this is another one. This was so fun to stitch. And it's another one that I feel like it's gonna stitch up really, really quickly. So this is what the chart looks like. We'll put up a closer picture. Gary always does a great job of putting up a closer picture so you guys can see what it looks like, because I know I'm pretty far from the camera.
I'm not doing that one.
You're doing it. You're not getting any dinner until you do.
Okay, well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, this is my Love by Madame Chantilly. So let me show you what I was able to get accomplished on that. And here we are. So this I am stitching on a 32 count charcoal gray linen. I believe this is just a standard like Zweigart fabric. It's got a nice weight to it. So I'm just a fabric that feels good to stitch on. And I think my fabric is probably a little bit darker than the fabric that's in the actual charted piece. And so I worried about that a little bit when I started it, but I'm actually really enjoying it. It's just fun to work on. I think the colors are really popping on that gray. And so I think I have, even though I have a tiny bit of a start here, I think I've got a pretty solid chance of actually finishing this when it comes up the next time in my rotation. So there we go. That is my start on My Love by Madame Chantilly. Okay, the other thing, and I had intended to get in to actually make a very small new start last night on what will be the next piece that I'm going to be slotting in for my sampler part of my rotation, since the Rose Quaker sampler is done, and ended up not having enough time to have a start last night. But I want to show you what I'm going to be working on because I'm so excited about it. I am going to be starting the Loose Feathers Summer, Autumn, and I think it's winter or spring. I can't remember which season. But the Loose Feathers seasonal sampler. This comes in 3 parts. So I'm starting the first chart, and which is summer. And I saw these a couple of months ago for the first time and absolutely fell in love with them. And I actually had another chart that I have got all kitted up that I was planning to start in the sampler spot, and this just completely kicked it out of the running. So maybe next year, sorry, but I just love this chart so much. So I'm really looking forward to working on this. I am going to be stitching that using all of the called for fabric and floss. I think when it comes to samplers, you probably don't mess too much because there's just, you know, I just don't mess with samplers too much. I usually go with what's called for. So I am stitching on, or I will be stitching this on a 35 count Irish cream linen by R&R. And these are the flosses. And can we just talk about how gorgeous these colors are on this fabric? This is just going to be absolutely stunning. So I am really looking forward to getting a good solid start on this. One thing I will say is I watched Marlene from Stitching by the Lake. Her most recent video, she has actually been working on this and she's getting really good progress. She's already on the autumn part of the sampler, which is the middle section. And oh my goodness, it's so beautiful. And her work was so lovely. So go check her out and definitely check out her most recent video because it was just beautiful. You will not be disappointed. Let's see. All right, so let's talk giveaway because I'm so excited. I am doing my very first giveaway, and I am absolutely thrilled to be partnering with Yany from Yany Stitcher on this. So a couple of videos ago, I was sharing with you there was a lot of interest from folks when I shared. You know, a lot of folks who were really interested in finding out about some of the charts that highlight other cultures and that are maybe a little bit different than what's typical in the mainstream of cross stitch right now. And one of the designers that I talked about and encouraged people to check out was Yany Stitcher. So Yany is based in Mexico. And I was telling everyone how she just has this wonderful, she's a sampler lover, among other things. And she's really great about combining sort of that traditional sampler style with some of those elements of Mexican culture and creating something just really special and new and beautiful. And so after after that video went up, Yany reached out to me and she very generously and kindly offered to share a couple of her charts if I was interested in doing a giveaway. And I was just, so blown away by that. It was so generous. And she was so patient with me because she happened to reach out to me during a really busy couple of weeks. And so I was really slow to get back to her. And she was just so patient. And so I am so excited to be able to share a couple of Yany's charts with you guys. So what we're going to do, Yany is going to be providing 2 PDF charts. So there'll be one chart for 2 different people. We'll have 2 winners. And we will be using the random comment generator to pick those 2 winners. One of the things I would really encourage you to do, so we're going to share, there's 3 charts that we have some photos for that Yany has designed. So one is the Friendship Sampler. I think this one is my favorite. It's so pretty. There's also a chart called La Katrina, or it's Katrina. Which is a beautiful celebration of the Day of the Dead tradition that they celebrate in Mexico. And then there's a 3rd chart, and I should have written the name down because it is absolutely escaping my mind right now, which makes me sad. But they're all really beautiful charts. And so for 2 of my viewers, I'm really, really delighted that Yany is gonna send those charts to you. So here's what you need to do. First of all, just to qualify to enter the giveaway, please be 18. Please be a subscriber. And please do not use the word giveaway in your comment. I know folks are generally really good and everyone kind of knows the rules about that. But if I do see the word giveaway or anything like that, I will delete the comment just because we don't want to have trolls coming in. These charts are so beautiful. I really want them to go to some people that will value them and stitch them. So what I would like you to do, and what I will be looking for, the keyword will be Mexico. I want you to share with me either a wonderful memory you have of Mexico, something that you love about Mexico, and, you know, something that is wonderful about Mexico. And I want to just hear, I want to hear that from you. So if you'll leave me a comment, use the word Mexico, that's what I will search for. And we will pull a name before our next video, and we'll let you know who those 2 winners are, and then I'll get you connected with Yany so that you can choose which of her beautiful charts you would like to stitch. Finally, if you would like to see more of Yany's patterns and more of her stitching, she recently did a Stitchy Parade on her channel, and I will include a link to that in the description box so you can go and see just how beautiful her pieces are and her amazing hand-dyed fabrics. So, super excited about that. Welcome to the third of episode 7. The elephant in the room is that we are obviously in a very different location than the rest of the video. And that is because after we filmed and started the editing process, we realized that the last part of the video that we had shot had some issues that we're not sure exactly what happened, but
it wasn't in focus.
It wasn't in focus. We don't know how that happened, but it happened. And so we decided, well, let's just change locations and shoot that section over again. And so
Let's just start fresh.
we're starting fresh, but only partway fresh.
Nothing says fresh like outside.
Exactly.
Yeah, outside fresh.
Outside fresh. So we are filming in our backyard. And so along with that is potentially going to come noise from neighbors, potentially some noise.
Yard work.
Lots of yard work, aircraft, dogs, mailmen, mail ladies, male people, and who knows, maybe a few coyotes for good measure. So, but hopefully you enjoy the change of scenery. So we wanted to take some time to answer a few of the questions that came in recent videos. And so we'll start with Linda Richter, who said that she wanted to know how I decide what frames to use on what pieces. And she said that she likes to see all of her work, and so that folding her fabric up in a Q-snap doesn't really work for her. She likes to use scroll frames, but runs into some problems as far as getting just the right size to fit on her work stand. And she asked about what scroll frame I use. So a couple different questions to answer there. The first one is as far as that I'll answer is what scroll frame I use, because that's the easiest. So I use a Omnic Quantum scroll frame. And as I've mentioned in prior videos, I have a a long set of bars, stretcher bars, and then a tall set of side bars. So Linda, I actually have only used it for one project, and that was my Rose Quaker sampler, because it's really great, especially on a large project, for letting you see all or most of your design as you're working. But there's really only a small section that is usable space as far as being able to stitch. And so I find it a little bit challenging to work with. I need to figure it out and get some shorter sidebars so that I can hopefully have a lighter kit or set that I'm working with. As far as choosing what I use for a frame when I'm holding the fabric or keeping the fabric taut for stitching, I always, with the exception of using the scroll rods for perhaps a really large project where I want to see the whole thing. I'm very much like you. I like to see the whole project when I'm stitching it. I don't like to have it rolled up if I can avoid it. I don't like to have it under the Q-snap. So what I will generally do is, if I'm starting a project or I'm working on a small, I will just use a small Q-snap frame. And then if I'm working on, say, a large project that's going to grow as the project takes shape and gets more stitches in, I'll just either add extension pieces to my Q-snap or move up to a larger Q-snap. And I find that that's a necessity for me, not just because, like you, I enjoy seeing the whole piece as I'm working and not having part of it under the Q-snap, but also because a number of my pieces do use beads, and so you can't put those under the Q-snap. So so I will just use the appropriate size of Q-snap based on the section I'm stitching in and the size of where my piece is, and just gradually move to a larger Q-snap as I need to as I'm working. So I hope that helps. If that doesn't answer your question or wasn't quite what you had in mind, please feel free to leave a comment and let me know, and we can circle back on that one. The next question came from Pauline Dutton, and Pauline wanted to know if I have any tips for stitching faces. She said that when she stitches them, she does follow the chart, but for some reason they just don't turn out looking quite right. So she was wondering about some tips and advice on that. So Pauline, what I will say is I am slowly moving more towards stitching 1/1, and I know there are some techniques, because when you do make the move to stitching 1/1, there are some things that change, meaning that it can make the face look a little bit more blocky if you don't make some adjustments, and that's something I still need to figure out and learn myself, so I can't offer too much advice there. The other thing I've noticed in stitching 1/1 is that a lot of times the colors appear more concentrated. So usually, if you assume you're working with 3 different colors for your skin tones, a lot of times the shadow color and the highlight color, particularly the shadow color, can feel too dark. And so one thing I'm going to give a try, I know Luda from Cross Stitch with Luda does this, and I think it's a really great idea. The Rainbow Gallery, they're the same ones that make the Petite Treasure braid that we all love. They also make a product called Splendor, which is just a silk thread. But they have a product within the Splendor line. It's their designer collection, and it's something like five or six different colors of floss in a gradation of color from light to dark. And they're specifically, so they have two different products, I guess, where they do that. That's specifically for skin tones, and one is their bronze porcelain, and then the other is the blush porcelain. So the blush porcelain would be more probably if you are looking for a gradation of color options for, say, Caucasian skin. And then the bronze porcelain, it doesn't go too dark on the spectrum. So if you wanted to do a conversion to African American skin, or maybe Native American skin, or Indian, or other ethnicities, you may not get a dark enough shade, so you might need to add. I'm not quite sure because I don't have them myself to be able to tell you, but based on the photos I've seen, I don't know that they get super dark, but it gives you some more options. And so what I can say, if you're not happy with faces that you're stitching, one thing that might help would be to choose to do a slight conversion where the shades of highlight and shadow are a little bit closer together rather than being quite so distinct, and you might get a little bit more of a smoother or blended finish. So hopefully that helps. I don't really, typically, unless I'm converting to 1/1, or actually converting to a different ethnic skin tone for my piece, I really usually just follow the way it's charted, and most of the time it turns out, I know there are some stitchers out there who will actually rechart, they'll rechart parts of the skin, or, change the shape of a face or the shape of a foot, and I am just not that artistic or brave to try and rechart that. So hopefully that is helpful. One thing I would say is if you want to share a picture with us, we'll include our email address in the description box below. But if you want to share one or two pictures with us of some of the results you've had that you're not super happy with, we can take a look at it and see if maybe we have some suggestions. And if you're comfortable with it, we could also potentially share it with other viewers and see what kind of suggestions we get from folks to help you out with that. So go ahead and feel free to send us an email, and we'll see if we can help you a little bit more with this problem. The next question came from Stitching at the Cabin, and Stitching at the Cabin, for those of you who don't already know, is Julie and Melissa. It's a mother-daughter Flosstube duo. So hi, and if you guys aren't watching them already, give them a check out.
I think they just waved back.
They did just wave back because they're friendly like that. But they asked, so they're stitching the Celtic Summer. And apparently in the instructions for Celtic Summer, it doesn't say whether to use 1 or 2 strands of Petite Treasure braid for the gold metallic thread. And so they wanted to know on the Celtic Autumn if the chart gives clear directions on that. And I'm happy to say that it does. The chart calls for 2 strands of the Petite Treasure braid. And I would, honestly, because I'm a coverage nut, I would use 2 strands anyway. I think 1 strand, I have a tendency even when I'm using Krennic to use 2 strands, although you're only supposed to use 1. So on Petite Treasure braid, because it is thinner. Yep, sorry about that airplane, guys.
If I had my camera, I'd take a picture of it so you could see what it looked like.
Yeah.
We've got 1 camera now.
There we go. We happen to live, there's a small local airport near us, so we have a lot of small aircraft that seem to fly over our house a lot. I think we're right in the flight path for those. And then
That's why I can't
yes,
fly drones
yeah,
here.
yeah. And then we also live near, fairly close to one of the naval air stations here in the Pacific Northwest.
Another reason I can't fly drones.
Exactly. So between the helicopters and the Navy planes and the local aircraft, it is what it is. Oh, looks like there's another one. We're just going to power through and hopefully it doesn't get too loud.
Seems
Okay, good. So anyway, back to the Petite Treasure braid.
What a segue.
What a segue. Yeah, I definitely, even, so the chart does call for 2 strands. I would use 2 strands anyway because I like the good coverage, or really, really nice coverage. And Petite Treasure braid tends to be more flexible and a little bit thinner. So That's what I would suggest, and that's what the chart calls for on Celtic Autumn. Okay, the next question comes from Tanya Potter. Tanya was wondering where I get the clips that I use on my Q-snaps to hold the extra fabric. So I brought a couple of those with me. I believe what Tanya is talking about.
It's the same plane. We're filming.
Don't they know we're filming? You guys, we do get a lot of air traffic, but we seem to have chosen like
Because we decided to film today.
exactly. It's not normally this
Plane.
quite so much of it, quite so plainy as it is today. Oh well. So I believe what Tanya's talking about are these. These are called thread peels. And they're actually designed for sewers to use. So when you have a bobbin of thread, you can take the thread peel and wrap it around the bobbin, and it holds your thread in place so it doesn't unwind and go all over the place. But cross stitchers have repurposed them to hold the fabric up on their Q-snaps. And I found mine on Amazon. I did a quick check the other day, and it looks like they have, lots of different options that you can get, packages of anywhere from 25 to over 100. And so that's what I suggest, is just check Amazon. They seem to be pretty readily available there, if you can't find them in your local stitching shop. Okay. The next question comes from Robert and Patricia Welsh. I'm not sure whether it's Robert or Patricia, so whichever of you, or maybe it's both of you who are interested. They asked, you mentioned cleaning a stitched piece. How and what do you use for the cleaning process? Well, in the first part of the video, you heard about the disaster I had with my cleaning process. But as a general rule, what I use, I will use a couple different options. If I have nothing else available, I'll use a mild dish soap like Dawn, and that's what a lot of stitching shops will recommend. The other thing that I usually use as my first choice, however, is a product called Quilt Soap, and it's by a company called Quilter's Rule. This was recommended to me a number of years ago by the proprietor of my local stitching shop, and it's a fantastic product because it doesn't contain any phosphorus, and it's designed for use with delicate fabrics. It's also, I believe it is sometimes used by like historical societies and museums to gently clean really delicate and fragile fabrics. So this is a fantastic product. It's always done a great job of gently cleaning my pieces, and there's just instructions right here on the bottle. This is also something that I was able to just pick up from Amazon at a very reasonable price. So this is where I would start, and then if you can't get your hands on this, go to the Dawn. One thing I will say is there are some products that are out there that are specifically designed as for gentle or delicate fabrics, like in clothing. And I would not recommend trying those. Those have a tendency, I've heard horror stories that even some delicate fabric, like laundry fabric detergents, will make colors bleed. And so I would stick with something that is actually, not in that category. So hopefully that's helpful. The next question comes from Barbara Angier. And Barbara asked if I could show how I finish my cottage pieces. She likes the idea of being able to switch out a piece from month to month quickly, and she was curious about the magnets. So Barbara, I'm happy to show you what I do, but I have to give full credit for this approach to Priscilla and Chelsea. This is something that is the brainchild of Priscilla from The Real Housewives of Cross Stitch. And this technique has taken Flosstube and the stitching community by storm, so I am not the creator or originator of the idea. But I brought, I brought my August cottage finish along to kind of show you what this looks like in practice. So,
no stagehand face.
Pay no attention to the man behind the curtain. So first of all, what you do is you mount your stitched piece on, a lot of us will use a sticky board, or you can use just a regular, acid-free foam core. Some people have even heard of used cardboard. It's what you're comfortable with. I do recommend making sure that whatever you mount it on is acid-free though, and is designed to keep your stitching from deteriorating over time. And then I also will mount some framing fabrics or some accent fabrics on the same sticky board and just kind of glue it all together to make this kind of a finish. And then on the back, what you do is you just glue some washers. Now you'll notice I have several here because I want to have some flexibility in where I put this on the magnet, depending on a variety of factors. But yeah, and you can use either like a hot glue gun for this, or you can use Aleene's tacky glue. The hot glue gun tends to dry and be firm a little bit faster, so I tend to go that direction, but I've also used Aleene's and had good results with that as well. So what you do then is on your frame itself, you will glue, I recommend at least 2 magnets. Sometimes you need more. And you'll just make sure that the magnets and your washers are aligned so that they can grab easily when you're ready to put your piece on there. And that's it. And I just a couple of notes about the magnets. You do want to find a pretty decently strong magnet. So like a refrigerator magnet strength is not going to be strong enough. You might want something more like a rare earth magnet, or something that's going to have some good pull to it, because you really want it to hold your piece pretty solidly. And then when you're ready to switch things out, it's just bam. You can move it around a little bit as needed. And I have, I've had really good luck with that. And then it's just a quick pull off and switch it out. So hopefully that's helpful. One thing I do suggest, if you have more specific questions, I'm happy to help. But Priscilla and Chelsea also on the Real Housewives of Cross Stitch, they have a video tutorial somewhere in their set of videos that's really helpful in just showing you that whole process for putting that all together. Okay. Let's see. The next question comes from Diane Burnow. And Diane asked if I would share my blue-pink conversion for my Peace Angel. So you may remember in my last video, I was sharing some old finishes with you. And one of those old finishes was Peace Angel by Lavender and Lace, which I was telling you I stitched for my aunt. And she had requested when she gave me the pattern that I stitch it for her. She didn't want the cream color dress. She wanted a blue and pink dress. So Diane, I will tell you, you are a lucky person because I'm a little bit of an overly organized person. I was actually able to find this conversion. I finished that piece more than 15 years ago. And so when I saw your question, I was like, oh my gosh, I hope I still have that conversion. Did I even write it down? And so I went digging in my old charts, and I was really relieved when I was able to find it. So it turns out I actually did a conversion. I changed the dress to blue, and then I put in the pink accent, or ribbon is what I kind of referred to it as. And then I also apparently did a conversion on the wings, which I didn't remember that I had done that. And so I'm going to read off the numbers that I did for all 3. I will be honest, I don't know, as far as what I'm going to read off to you right now, I don't know whether it's darkest to lightest. So what we'll do is we'll prepare a graphic that we can put up that will show the darkest to lightest, what order the numbers should be in for the DMC colors. And
When you say we?
We.
Yeah.
He's been voluntold. So we'll create that graphic, and we'll also share the conversion darkest to lightest in the description box below. So the blue colors for the dress, these are all DMC, 341. Then I did a blend of 341 and 793. Then just 793 on its own. And then a blend of 793 and 792. Then just 792 on its own. And then 791. So that, I'm not sure if that's darkest to lightest or lightest to darkest in order, but I think it's one of the two. So that's the blue colors. For the pink ribbon, I used 778. Then I did a blend of 3726 and 778. I also had a blend of 3726 and 315. And then just 315. And then finally for the wings, I did 3747, 341, and 762. So again, I'll make sure that we share those with you in color order, so it's a little bit easier if you want to use that conversion for something. All right, the last question comes from Lee Bedford. Lee asked if I prefer samplers over full coverage or if I enjoy them equally. So I would say from just a pure like stitching process perspective, I think I enjoy stitching samplers more simply because I am a progress stitcher. I find it hard to keep up my motivation if I don't see a lot of progress and if I don't see a piece taking shape. And because samplers tend to have lots of little motifs and lots of little bits of things that are all kind of coming together to create the whole design, every time you finish one of those, it's almost like you get a mini finish and you really feel like you're making progress. A lot of times with full coverage, you can put in a couple thousand stitches and it doesn't seem like it makes that big of a difference in moving you along. It's just that process of stitching takes so much longer. As far as the final results, I love how full coverage turns out, and just, you know, it's easy to get lost in how beautiful that final design is, but it takes so much longer to make progress that I find the actual stitching process itself is a little bit more enjoyable for me with samplers. But I'm going to keep stitching both because there are wonderful things about both. So that's it for questions for this week. I'm just going to quickly wrap up by telling you what I'm going to be working on between now and the next time we film a video. So first of all, I have one day available in the current rotation, in the sampler rotation, since I have the finish on Rose Quaker sampler. And I am going to be starting Summer by the Blackbird Designs. It's part of the Loose Feathers series, and this is part of a 3-part sampler. So this is the first part. I'm going to be stitching this using all of the called for. So the called for fabric, which is an Irish cream linen by R&R. And then I'm also using all of the called for threads, because I think when it comes to samplers or pieces that are designed by Blackbird, frankly, you just go with what they tell you because it's already perfect. So I'll have a day to kind of get a start on that, and we'll see what I'm able to accomplish. Once that's done, I'm going to have a week to spend on Celtic Autumn, and I'm hoping that I can actually get some really noticeable progress on that this time. I feel like I've been sort of slowly inching along, and I'd like to see a nice chunk of progress the next time I get through that. And then I will be working on my other new start again, which is My Love by Madame Chantilly. That piece is, I think, going to be a pretty quick stitch, and so I have a feeling that I will probably finish it before the next time we film. So if I do, we'll have a new start to show you, and I'm not sure exactly what that's going to be yet. I have something in mind that I want to start, but I'm waiting for my fabric to arrive. And so if my fabric doesn't arrive, then I will get started on something else. So we will see. It'll be a surprise for all of us. And then finally, the last thing I'll be working on, I'll continue to try and spend some time on my March cottage and see what kind of progress I can make on that. So that's it for us today. Thanks for your patience with our airplanes and other outside noises, but we hope the change of scenery was fun for you. We hope that you are all staying well, staying safe, wear a mask, wash your hands, stitch on all the things you love, and we hope that as summer starts winding down, you guys are enjoying cooler temperatures and looking forward to fall as much as we are. So we will see you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.
Did you say like, subscribe, share?
I didn't.
Let's do that.
Okay. Thanks to the man behind the camera. Good reminder, if you like this video with all of its mistakes, please do give us a like. We would love it if you subscribed and would follow us on a regular basis. We enjoy all of your comments. We read all of them. I'm sometimes a little slow to respond to those comments, but I do read every single one, and I do try to give a response to every single one because I appreciate the time.
How do they find you on Instagram?
You can find me on Instagram at @globetrotting_stitcher. And if you want to get... Somebody's going to get a beat down when we're done with this. And if you would like to get notifications when we put up a new video, hit the little bell, and then you'll get a notification and you can be the first one to watch the next time we post. So again, for the second closing, Take care, and we'll see you soon.
Bye.
Bye.